At first glance, these gadgets look completely normal, but hidden inside these everyday items are tools powerful enough to break into networks, hijack devices, and expose major security flaws. And the craziest part? Most of them are sitting right on Amazon with next-day delivery. So today, we're breaking down 30 of the most insane hacking gadgets you can actually buy on Amazon in 2026. Let's start with the gadgets that basically kicked off the modern hacker tool craze. First up is the Flipper Zero, and this tiny device absolutely exploded online when it launched. Even in 2026, people are still talking about it. It costs around $169, and at first glance, it looks more like a toy than a hacking tool. There's a little dolphin on the screen, colorful buttons, and a simple handheld design. But don't let that fool anyone. The Flipper Zero can read, clone, and replay RFID cards, NFC chips, infrared signals, and even certain sub-gigahertz radio frequencies. That means it can interact with things like access badges, garage door systems, and older wireless key fobs. But the reason this device caused so much controversy is that people quickly discovered it could also clone hotel key cards, office badges, and other wireless devices if those systems weren't secured properly. In fact, Canada even attempted to ban the device, which should give a pretty good idea of how powerful this little gadget actually is. Next up is a device that looks completely harmless. The USB rubber ducky, created by Hack5, sells for about $59.99, and it looks exactly like a regular USB flash drive. But the moment it gets plugged into a computer, something very different happens. Instead of acting like a storage device, the computer thinks it's a keyboard. That means it can instantly start typing commands, and not slowly like a human. This thing can type hundreds of commands per second. Security professionals use it to test whether a company's computers are vulnerable to physical access attacks. Because if someone can walk up to a machine and plug something in for just a few seconds, they could potentially run scripts that open programs, change settings, or reveal weaknesses in the system. Now we move into one of the most famous wireless security tools ever made, the Wi-Fi Pineapple, also from Hack5. This device starts at about $240, and it's widely used by cybersecurity teams around the world. The Wi-Fi Pineapple can create rogue Wi-Fi networks that nearby devices automatically connect to. Many phones, laptops, and tablets are programmed to reconnect to networks they've seen before. The Pineapple takes advantage of that behavior by pretending to be those trusted networks. When devices connect, the tool can monitor and analyze the traffic passing through it, helping security teams identify weaknesses in wireless security. At first glance, the Alpha Awus 036ACH just looks like a regular USB Wi-Fi adapter. You can find it online for about $39.99, and plenty of people buy it simply because it has strong wireless reception. But this adapter has two features that make it extremely popular in cybersecurity: monitor mode and packet injection. Monitor mode allows the device to passively observe wireless traffic in the area, while packet injection allows it to send specially crafted packets into a network for testing purposes. In fact, for many beginners learning about network security, this adapter is often one of the first pieces of hardware they buy. And number 5 might be one of the most unsettling gadgets on this entire list. The OMG cable, which costs around $180, looks exactly like a normal Lightning or USB-C charging cable. Except hidden inside the connector is a tiny microcontroller with its own Wi-Fi server. Once plugged into a computer, the cable can receive commands wirelessly from a nearby device and send keystrokes directly to the computer. That means someone could control what the computer types completely remotely. Some versions can even operate from hundreds of feet away, and they include features that allow the internal firmware to erase itself, making the device harder to analyze afterward. If the first gadgets showed how hackers interact with devices, the next ones go even deeper. They interact with the invisible signals all around us. First up is the Hack RF1, and this device is basically a radio powerhouse. It usually sells for around $320 to $400, and it falls into a category called Software-Defined Radio, or SDR. Instead of being limited to one specific radio function, the Hack RF can transmit and receive signals across an enormous range of frequencies, from about 1 MHz all the way up to 6 GHz. That range covers a surprising number of things. We're talking about FM radio, satellite signals, aviation communications, weather data transmissions, and older wireless protocols used by different devices. For engineers and security researchers, It's an incredible learning tool for understanding how wireless communication works. But it also highlights something most people never think about. A lot of radio signals traveling through the air around us aren't encrypted at all, and with the right equipment, they can be captured and studied. Next up is the RTL SDR Blog V4. And this is where things get really interesting, because it's incredibly affordable. This little dongle costs only about $32.95, making it one of the easiest ways for beginners to explore software-defined radio. Unlike the Hack RF, this device can't transmit signals, it's receive only. But that doesn't make it boring. It can still pick up signals from aircraft transponders, weather satellites, ship tracking systems, amateur radio operators, and many other radio sources. That means, with a simple antenna and a laptop, people can literally watch aircraft flying overhead in real time or track ships moving across oceans. Now we're moving into something a lot more specialized. The Proxmark 3 is considered one of the most powerful tools in the world for RFID and NFC security research. Depending on the version, it typically costs between $300 and $350. This device can read, clone, emulate, and test a huge range of contactless card systems. That includes older 125 kHz key fob systems, as well as modern 13.56 MHz smart cards used in offices, hotels, and transit systems. Security consultants often use the Proxmark 3 when testing physical access systems. Because if there's a flaw in how those cards are designed or implemented, this tool can help reveal it. Next up is a much smaller device with a surprisingly powerful purpose. The Chameleon Mini usually costs between $60 and $80, and it's tiny enough to fit on a keychain. This little gadget is a programmable NFC card emulator. That means it can store multiple contactless card profiles and switch between them whenever needed. Researchers often use it to demonstrate how contactless payment systems or access cards might behave under different conditions. And number 10 is something that doesn't look like a hacking gadget at all. The GL.iNet Barrel AX Travel Router, which sells for around $154, is marketed as a simple device for travelers who want secure internet while on the road. But under the hood, it's much more powerful than a typical travel router. It runs OpenWRT firmware, which means it can be configured for VPN tunneling, network monitoring, traffic analysis, and custom networking setups. Security professionals often bring devices like this during assessments to quickly create controlled network environments. So far, the gadgets we've seen mostly focused on signals and wireless systems. But the next group is different. First up is the Key Grabber Air, a small hardware keylogger that usually sells for $79 to $120, depending on the storage size. And this device is almost shockingly simple. It's a tiny dongle that plugs between a keyboard and a computer. Once connected, it quietly records every single keystroke typed on that keyboard and saves it to internal memory. The reason security experts talk about this device so much is because it operates entirely at the hardware level. That means the computer's operating system never even knows it exists. Next up is one of the most famous cybersecurity gadgets ever created, the Bash Bunny, made by Hack5. It sells for about $99.99, and it looks like a regular USB flash drive. But internally, it's basically a tiny computer running Linux. What makes the Bash Bunny so powerful is that it can pretend to be multiple USB devices at the same time. One feature that makes it especially unique is the physical switch on the side, which lets the user instantly change between two different payload profiles. Flip the switch, plug it in, and the device runs a completely different script. Now, let's talk about something that looks almost harmless. The Packet Squirrel Mark II, also from Hack5, costs about $150 and is small enough to fit in a pocket. But this little gadget is designed for network traffic analysis. It sits between an Ethernet cable and a device, quietly observing the data moving through that connection. Depending on how it's configured, the device can log network traffic to a USB drive or send it through a secure tunnel for analysis. Next is another Hack5 device that looks extremely ordinary. The LAN Turtle, which sells for around $49.99, looks just like a simple USB Ethernet adapter. But inside, it's actually running a compact Linux system. Once connected to a computer or network, it can act as a covert network gateway designed for remote management and testing. Cybersecurity teams sometimes use devices like this during red team assessments, where the goal is to simulate real-world attack scenarios and evaluate how well a network detects unusual activity. And number 15 might be the most unusual-looking gadget so far. The Wi-Fi Douther watch looks like a small smartwatch and usually costs between $25 and $45. Inside, it runs a programmable ESP8266 microcontroller, which allows it to perform something called a Wi-Fi deauthentication test. This type of test works by sending special disconnection signals that temporarily force devices to reconnect to a wireless network. Security researchers use this technique to evaluate how networks behave when connections suddenly drop or become unstable. And we're only halfway through the list, because the next gadgets start getting even stranger. Number 16 is GreatFET 1, which usually sells for about $99.99. This device is an open-source hardware hacking platform designed for researchers who work with embedded electronics. Instead of targeting networks or computers directly, the GreatFET interacts with the tiny chips inside devices. It can communicate with common hardware protocols like SPI, I2C, and UART, which are used by many embedded systems and IoT gadgets. Next up is a device that has been around in the hacker community for years, the Bus Pirate. It usually costs between $30 and $40, and despite the unusual name, it's one of the most useful tools for embedded hardware research. The Bus Pirate can communicate with a wide range of electronic chips using common protocols. That means researchers can connect it to a device and begin talking directly to the components inside. It's widely used for tasks like firmware extraction, debugging embedded systems, and testing hardware security. Number 18 might be one of the most recognizable devices on the list, a Raspberry Pi 5 kit, which usually costs around $80 to $100, is essentially a tiny full computer that fits in the palm of your hand. On its own, it's simply a compact computer designed for education and experimentation. But because it's so flexible, it has become the backbone for countless cybersecurity and networking projects. With the right setup, a Raspberry Pi can run tools like Kali Linux, perform network scanning, act as a portable server, or create custom testing environments. Next up is one of the most unusual-looking gadgets on the list. The Wi-Fi Nugget, created by Retia, costs around $75, and it has a tiny cat face printed right on the device. At first glance, it almost looks like a novelty gadget. But inside, it's powered by an ESP8266 microcontroller, which gives it the ability to run wireless testing tools like Wi-Fi scanning and packet analysis. Devices like this are often used in educational settings and security research to demonstrate how wireless networks behave under different conditions. And number 20 is the Proxmark RDV4, which is basically a more advanced evolution of the earlier Proxmark devices. It usually sells for around $400 to $450, and it's considered one of the most powerful portable tools for RFID and NFC research. Like the earlier versions, it can interact with a wide range of contactless card technologies used in things like access badges, transit cards, and identification systems. But the RDV4 improves the design with a rechargeable battery and a more compact form, allowing researchers to use it more easily during real-world security assessments. And finally, the last 10 gadgets on this list show just how creative hardware security tools can get. Some of them look completely ordinary until you realize what they can actually do. There's the Hack 5 Screen Crab for about $99.99, a device that sits between an HDMI cable and a monitor to quietly capture screen output for testing and diagnostics. Then there's the USB Ninja cable for around $89.99, another cable-style device designed for automated USB testing and wireless triggering. The Signal Owl, priced around $59.99, focuses on passively monitoring nearby Wi-Fi and Bluetooth activity for network analysis. The iCopy RFID Writer Kit, which costs about $19.99, allows users to experiment with contactless card technologies by reading and writing supported card types. For wireless networking enthusiasts, the Alpha Awus 1900 long-range Wi-Fi adapter, around $59.99, is known for its powerful antennas and ability to detect networks from impressive distances. There's also Kali Linux on a bootable USB drive, usually around $15 to $20, which allows a computer to launch directly into a full cybersecurity testing environment without installing anything. Some devices focus on location and monitoring technology as well, like compact GPS trackers with GSM connectivity, typically priced around $30 to $40. Others are built for observation or recording during testing scenarios, such as mini cameras disguised as USB chargers, which sell for about $25 to $35. There are also wireless hardware keyloggers, around $39.99, designed for controlled security demonstrations where keystroke activity can be monitored remotely. And finally, there's the Flipper Zero Wi-Fi dev board for about $29.99, which expands the Flipper Zero's capabilities by adding Wi-Fi packet capture and wireless experimentation features. Drop a comment telling me which gadget on this list surprised you the most. And if you want more videos like this, then hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon so that you will never miss any of our uploads.